And we're going to be looking at this video by Force Gaming called The State of New World. Let's check it out.
So this week, New World launched the Brimstone Sands update. This is the largest single content patch they've had since release, and it brings a ton of new stuff. There is the whole new zone of Brimstone Sands, a desert-themed area with a new quest line, enemies, loot. They even added jumping puzzles.
I may have heard a thing or two about this. A giant update for New World
to the game, as well as this big old sandworm that appears to likely be either an upcoming world or raid boss. And this is
that is actually really cool. They put the freaking giant sandworm from Dune into this game. I mean, you know, it's not the same, but that's what it makes me think of.
Fairly large area.
Did anyone else think of that? I mean, honestly. Am I the only one that thought it kind of looked like the giant sandworms from Dune? Really?
Lots of the normal stuff you expect in New World, but about 2.5 times the size of Everfall, for example. It's a big zone with a lot of content. Also in this zone,
it's huge.
Is the new expedition, the Ennead, a new group dungeon with a boss and mechanics to learn, some new puzzles, and of course the whole reason you're there is for some brand new loot, which includes the addition of a new weapon, the Great Sword, a big old two-handed sword that has
the Great Sword. Man, does that scratch an itch for me in gaming. Like, ever since I played Final Fantasy VII, Cloud Strife, the Bastard Sword, the giant big mother flippin' blade. You know, I kind of always want to have a big freaking sword in gaming. Especially like this type of game, right? The kind of like medieval or almost medieval, whatever. I know this is supposed to be more like the colonies time period, but yeah. Anything from like hundreds of years ago, that kind of time period, if there's a big freaking sword, it just makes me happy.
Has both DPS and tanking potential that scales with strength and dexterity. And then, and this is the big thing here, they added these items called heart gems. They're kind of like mini ultimates. These are items that act as a brand new skill for your character.
What?
It will charge.
I didn't know about this. You mean they're actually adding more skills and making combat feel more flavorful? Okay, this is a good sign for me. Because I thought 3 skills, I always thought that was kind of like, wait, what? New World. Look at all other MMOs ever. I mean, basically. There might be a couple others that are kind of similar in terms of just like number of skills. But like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, you know, a dead one now, but Terra Online, or like, you know, I'm just talking about the ones that I've played. But man, all of those had multiple skills, like multiple skills. Even Lost Ark, right? You have like 8 skills that you can use. And they just decided, okay, we'll just rock 3. We'll just rock 3 and we'll make you switch out all the time because, you know, they do very different things, and so for different situations, you want to use different ones. But you're limited to 3. I think this is very smart. Add a couple more. Come on. Go crazy with it. Make it 8, like Lost Ark. If you can get to where there's like 8 skills that you can use, I think your combat will be a lot more fun. I think more people would play your game just for combat being more fun. Like, oh, I can do more skills, and it's more like interactive. That's what I think.
Charge up in combat, and then once full can be activated. Now there are 5 major heart gem abilities, the core abilities. There's Cannon Blast, which has you firing a large cannon. Detonate, which will explode in an area, damaging anything around you. Grasping Vines summons up vines to crowd control nearby enemies. Stone Form is like the opposite of that. It makes you immune to controlling effects. And then Dark Ascent is sort of a leap ability that has you slamming down, damaging, and staggering enemies. Each of
Hey, I like a lot of these. I think I like them all. That's really cool.
These core abilities all have 3 sub-variations, adding additional effects, which
Really?
basically makes for 15 new skills added to the game that
Nice.
you can swap and try out. Beyond all of this new content, they've also revamped the starter experience, bringing a total overhaul to the early leveling experience.
That may be a good thing, because it was kind of boring. The early leveling experience was kind of boring. I'm sorry for any of you, like, crazy diehard New World fans out there, but come on, let's be honest. It was a little bit boring.
Streamlining things so that it all flows better and makes more sense. This includes the quest flow, moving you through the zones with a new focus on the main story. They've added more variety to the quest with dynamic things like wave events, tracking, traversal challenges, puzzles, and even more unique encounters. And
Nice.
they've overhauled the starting zones layout, their appearance, the content dramatically.
That is a dramatic change. I mean, let's be honest. We go back just a couple seconds here.
Out their appearance,
That's crazy. It looks so much better. I mean, that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting.
Content dramatically changing things like the town's look and layouts, adding new enemies, brand new locations to discover.
Hey, that was a lot of people's, like, complaint about this game. One of the complaints is like, hey, the towns, they look the same. You literally just took your, 4 or 5 prefabs and just, like, moved them around a little bit, and okay, this is a different town. So that's really cool that they're actually overhauling the look of things.
And new challenges. They've also, I really like this, they make it so that early on there are weapons of every type just laying around the environment that you can pick up and use,
That's
rather
nice.
than having to, like in the past, relying on drops to finally use the weapon that you're interested in. They're just scattered around the place for you to pick up. And all around, this is a pretty solid update, honestly. Like, new content is always nice to have, so we got a new zone, a new dungeon, and a new weapon, and new systems are even better. This heart gem system that essentially gives us 50.
Yes, that is the most exciting thing. Like, I might actually play New World again. I haven't wanted to play it because it's just so meh. I'm sorry. Any of you New World diehard fans out there, I am sorry, but it was just a little bit meh for me. Like, the fast travel system is just, like, lackluster. Like, you really need more fast travel points, I think, because the world is so big. Like, I don't want to run around forever. Or add some mounts. So if I have to run around, I can do it a lot faster. Like, come on.
15 new skills to try out. Really great addition. And that overhaul new player experience, while not so important for established players who already have max level characters, this is great for anyone new who might be jumping into the game for the first time.
Yeah.
And also for those of us who are crazy enough to want to go through the leveling process again on the fresh start servers in a couple of weeks. Yeah, I guess it's good for us too, right? So
I might actually try it. I might actually jump back into New World on the fresh start servers. Didn't think I would say that. I feel myself being drawn in.
yeah, overall, I like this update. I think it's fairly decent, but also it's not really the focus of today's video. More so, I want to talk about how the game has progressed over this past year leading up to this point, the sort of state that it's in currently, and then also look forward into the future. And maybe along the way, this might help you decide if now is a good time to jump back in. Personally, I am excited to be back into New World because, yeah, there has been quite a lot added. And, New World might not be the perfect MMO, but I think it has come a long way and still has even more unrealized potential that, so long as Amazon doesn't completely abandon the project, may eventually become realized. But first, I
think Amazon has got the funds to back this, if you know what I mean. I think they can ride it out until they fine-tune it just the right amount to where people love the game, right? And yeah, I mean, the game has suffered from bad press, bad whatever. But if you can get a really devoted core and then they spread the word and people either try it again or new people try it, I mean, I think it could still be a pretty successful game. And so, yeah, they have the funds definitely to ride the harsh criticism wave until they get there, if they choose to.
I've just realized it's time for a word from today's sponsor. Hey everyone, today's video is sponsored by Time Raiders. This is a mobile MMO where you go on tomb raiding adventures to uncover clues to ancient legends, unearth long-lost temples, and battle supernatural forces.
I mean, this doesn't actually look that bad for a mobile MMO.
The game offers a wide range of content with daily events and challenges. PvE includes a story
It's crazy how far mobile gaming has come.
Whereas PvP offers stuff like duels, arenas, and even wars. There's an in-depth character creator letting you choose. Brimstone Sands. This is the most recent in an ever-growing list of updates that have come to New World since the game released. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. So they've added multiple new expeditions. These are the dungeons in the game. There was Tempest Hearts as well as Barnacles and Black Powder. With this, dungeons are now also free to enter. So no more will you have to be farming for orbs to gain access, basically the keys.
That is nice. I always thought the stupid, like, key system, oh, you have to craft a thing, you have to have the right materials for the thing so you can do the... That was so stupid. It was so stupid. So now it's just, like, you know, whatever normally makes sense. Like a level requirement, maybe, or maybe it doesn't even matter. Anyone can just go in, and if you're low level, you get wrecked, so what? That's nice, though. Oh my gosh. Quality of life increase.
To unlock playing the dungeons. You can just do the dungeons.
Am I the only one that thought that was silly? Why would you have to craft orbs to be able to go into a dungeon? Just let everyone go into the dungeon. Doesn't that make sense? What do you guys think?
There's just now a limit on the number that you can do. Also, every dungeon now has a fast travel point at the entrance, making arriving there a lot easier. And they finally added Group Finder. So now you have a tool that will show you a list of active groups for every potential expedition that you might want.
Oh. Sorry. I'm getting a little excited. But dang. So many quality of life increases here. No more orbs. Like, more skills to use in battle. A group finder for dungeons. Oh man. So many things that just made sense to be in the base game, but maybe they ran out of time or they didn't think about it, blah, blah, blah. I'm so glad.
To do, making it way easier to find people to play with. They added mutated expeditions. These are harder versions.
People would literally just shout on world chat, like, hey, I'm trying to do this dungeon. Hey, can anyone help me with this dungeon? Hey, I'm too low level or whatever, too inexperienced. Please help with this dungeon. This is going to be so nice.
It's kind of like hard.
But at the same time, that actually brings up an interesting point. The system before encouraged more player-to-player interaction. But now, if you just have a group finder that does it automatically for you, you don't have to talk to anybody. No! The give and take of antisocial internet world.
Mode of the dungeons, mixing things up and adding to the replayability. There's all sorts of different modifiers, so enemies can be infused with different elemental effects. They can be promoted and given new abilities, and the players themselves can be cursed, which basically applies debuffs. These mutations will be rotating weekly, changing up every Tuesday morning with the weekly reset. They added instruments to the game, so you can now play music that grants buffs such as gathering luck or yield.
Hey, that's
this is a really
nice.
Cool inclusion. One of my favorite things.
I thought the instruments were just going to be like an aesthetic thing. Like, hey, now you can run around and play a lute or something with your friends, like on Sea of Thieves. But it actually has a buff to it. That's interesting. I like that.
About the MMO ArcGauge was its use of instruments to do like healing and mana restoration, and instruments for buffs is similarly a really cool idea.
Yeah.
It's a nice little extra flavor, system to engage with. PvP got some additions. They added PvP arenas, these 3-versus-3 team fights in a best-of-5 format with these timed 2-minute rounds.
For people who like PvP, I'm sure that's fun. I've never really been one for PvP. And that's definitely one of the reasons that I don't like New World, is because PvP is such a big emphasis. I mean, it's cool in a way, because it's like, okay, hey, we're, you know, it's like a whole zone or whatever is fighting against another one, you know, like, or a whole town or whatever. It does give a cool scale and sense of, you know, scale to things, but it's just not for me. I'd rather just fight world bosses and dungeon bosses and stuff.
Which, after that timer runs up, a shrinking ring of fire appears, forcing players together and ending things more quickly. And also, there's now a PvP rewards track. So if you're most interested in PvP, if that's the activity you like to do, you now basically have your own XP track, as well as a special currency that's used to purchase rewards. New weapons have come to the game. So this most recent update adds the Greatsword, but they were also saw the addition of the Void Gauntlet, which was a damage and support magic hybrid, and the Blunderbuss, a ranged weapon. It's actually
I thought Void Gauntlet was already in. What are we talking about? Hello? Hello? I'm pretty sure Void Gauntlet was already in the game. I'm confused.
Specifically focused on mid-ranged and mobility. They've made it so that leveling in the game is easier. This was a huge critique for a very long time, especially at release, just how long and how much of a slog the mid to the end leveling was. Well, they have reduced the experience and the time required to level up your character, as well as for improving trade skills. They add
I mean, that's really interesting. That's definitely cool that they're listening to the people. To the people. Listen to our cries, New World Development Team.
added cross-region transfers, making it so that you can more easily play with friends. There have been new enemies to add more variety to just the play experience.
Yeah, that's
new
definitely
open world activities like updated points of interest. They added a loot goblin basically called Raffle Bones. There are these new things called roadside encounters, basically like dynamic world events. And they've added these collectible things like Vista paintings scattered around the world. There's the new expertise system, which is a new form of progression for increasing your gear score at max level. And a whole new endgame loot system. Basically everything in the game, every endgame activity like open world named bosses, expeditions, the outpost rush, arenas, corrupted breaches, all of that now grants players these different types of gypsum, and that can be crafted into orbs, which then ultimately basically become a gypsum cast of any type of weapon, armor, or trinkets. And
I mean, that's interesting, I guess. I'm glad that they're adding more in-game stuff for the in-game people. For the people who are already maxed out on their levels and they're like, what do I do? What do I do?
On top of this, there have been a ton of different quality of life improvements to the game, so they've made it so that storage is now linked across all territories, so it's no...
That is really nice. Man, that was so annoying. Ugh, that was so freaking annoying. Like, you would have to run... let me try and remember. I don't want to get this wrong now that now that I'm talking about it. I think you had to actually run from a place to a place. Yes, that's right. It was specific to each area. So it's like, oh, I'm in Windsward. Okay, here's all my Windsward stuff. And you go to another town. Oh, I can't access any of my stuff in Windsward. I have to go run back or teleport back and get it. Damn, that was annoying.
No longer the case that you have to transfer items from one town to another. Basically, it's all just linked together. Taxes have been reduced. They're taking less money out of your pocket. Fast travel costs have been lowered, making that easier. You can also now queue for things like Outpost Rush and arenas from anywhere in the game. Players now also have an unlimited amount of tier 1 ammo, so you don't have to be focusing on crafting that or worried about running.
Unlimited tier 1 ammo? Nice. That is a quality of life improvement. That's cool.
Out. They've also made it so that it's now pretty darn affordable to respec, so you can try out different builds and weapon paths without worrying about sinking all of your resources into that. And then
that's so nice too. Oh my gosh. It shouldn't be like a huge head-scratching moment or like hand-wringing moment like, do I want to put all these resources into respecking so I can try something different? I don't know. It should be easy. It should just be like, oh yeah, let me just re-roll and, oh, okay, cool, this feels good, I'll try this. It should be that easy. That's amazing. That's amazing they're doing stuff like this.
Then they've made some things like major crackdowns on cheating and hackers, banning a lot of people, managing people who are doing that.
That's
All of
awesome.
this plus an exhaustive list of balance tuning, bug fixes, combat gameplay, and quality of life improvements. And I'm talking like hundreds of pages worth of changes over this past year, adjusting and improving all of this stuff. I am not reading it all off, but in general, they have been trying to respond to community feedback.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of stuff. That is a lot of additions within the span of a year, and a lot of things that I think put it in a good direction right up until this week with the launch of Brimstone Sands.
Yeah.
So how is this update? Well, at the top, I ran through all of the things that were included, and it all seems good, but also pretty darn brief. My editor completely no life to this on patch day, playing from its launch right up until he passed out like a real true gamer, yeah? And he's pretty much done. Like,
good day, everyone.
And an
we
ad.
are now live at the grand
Right
opening
on
of
cue.
Lineage 2
Thanks,
Essence
YouTube.
New Worlds.
yes, there is new stuff he could grind for. There's more loot and things he could farm. But in about a day, he pretty much saw more or less everything this update has to offer. He completed the new story.
I mean, that makes it sound kind of bad. If you can do it all in a day, and then you're what? You're just kind of burnt again? Like, Yeah, that is a little bit discouraging. Man, freaking New World